Okay. Welcome, dear colleagues. Let me organize myself, first of all. This is getting complicated. We're very digital, but we still have some paper. There you go. Now, as you can see, we have a further innovation today that we are testing. So first, let me welcome my spokes colleagues who are online. This is great. I can see Johannes, Ariana, Suzanne. What a library, Suzanne. You're really the culture spokes today. Daniel, hi Daniel, and Tim, that's much more sober, the background. Ariana, of course, as a good Italian, has a beautiful painting. You can all hear me? Can you give me a thumbs up if you're hearing me? Yes? Fantastic. Okay, great. So we are progressing in the virtualization of the press room. On this side as well, as far as I can see, social distancing is becoming a really, really easy task to accomplish in view of the small number of journalists. But I know that attendance of this midday briefing remains high, in particular in view of the humongous number of questions that we are getting through the email address that we have given. So I would like to apologize in advance to those of you whose questions we will not necessarily be able to answer immediately, but if we don't, I will make sure that we acknowledge the question and that we try to get back to you in the course of the day. So, firstly, some announcements, et je passe au français. Je salue d'ailleurs aussi les interprètes sans qui nous ne pourrions pas travailler. Merci de votre présence. Donc tout d'abord, un petit rappel de ce que nous avons annoncé hier et ce matin concernant la lutte contre le coronavirus. Premièrement, sur la gestion des frontières, comme vous le savez, la Commission a présenté aux États membres ses lignes directrices. La présidente et le président du Conseil ont aussi présenté la proposition sur une restriction temporaire à l'entrée sur le territoire de l'Union européenne. La présidente a diffusé un message vidéo sur ce sujet qui vous donne tous les détails nécessaires. Ensuite, comme vous le verrez dans nos Daily News, l'Union européenne aide les citoyens européens du monde entier touchés par des problèmes de voyage dus à l'épidémie du coronavirus. À ce titre, hier, l'Autriche a activé le mécanisme européen de protection civile, demandant une assistance consulaire pour soutenir le processus de rapatriement des citoyens autrichiens et autres citoyens de l'Union européenne de Marrakech au Maroc. Avec des frais de transport cofinancés par la Commission, un avion autrichien a atterri à Vienne tôt ce matin, rapatriant avec succès quelques 290 citoyens européens. Enfin, vous avez vu que nous venons de publier la déclaration de la vice-présidente exécutive, Madame Margrethe Vestager, sur un projet de proposition de cadre temporaire pour les aides d'État visant à soutenir l'économie dans le contexte actuel. L'agenda du collège pour demain, collège qui se tiendra par vidéoconférence. Bien évidemment, le point principal sera la gestion de la crise du coronavirus. Le collège discutera des derniers développements, notamment à la suite de la réunion virtuelle des chefs d'État et de gouvernement du Conseil européen qui commencera ce soir à 17 h. Par ailleurs, le collège adoptera également une communication décrivant les nouveaux objectifs politiques à long terme du partenariat oriental au-delà de 2020. J'appelle maintenant Martha pour faire un point sur l'Eurogroupe d'hier. behind? Okay.
So the Eurogroup met via video conference yesterday. It welcomed the proposals the Commission presented last week to mitigate the negative socio-economic consequences of the COVID-19 outbreak. And these include using the full flexibility, which is already inherent in the state aid and the fiscal framework rules, mobilizing the EU budget to allow the EIB group to provide short-term liquidity to SMEs, directing 75 billion euros to fight COVID-19 under the Coronavirus Response Investment Initiative. The Eurogroup also put together a first set of national and European measures to be taken while setting a framework for further actions to respond to developments and to support the economic recovery. The Commission welcomes that the Eurogroup's determination to take whatever further coordinated and decisive policy action is necessary, including fiscal measures to support growth and employment.
Thank you very much. Don't forget your badge. All right. And then on cohesion, Viviane.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So the European Commission continues to invest in the EU's economy on all fronts. Today we have approved an investment package worth more than 1.4 billion euros in European Union cohesion policy funds in 14 large infrastructure projects in 7 member states, namely Croatia, Czechia, Hungary, Poland, Portugal, Romania and Spain. The projects cover several key areas such as better railway infrastructure, more reliable and efficient energy supplies, cleaner energy and better healthcare facilities. For instance, in Romania, 486.6 million euros from the Cohesion Fund will ensure access to improved drinking water and proper wastewater treatment. The EU will also invest 47 million euro from the European Regional Development Fund to improve the quality and efficiency of medical services in the northeast region of Romania, so that patients will receive high-quality treatment. In Croatia, over 119 million euro from the Cohesion Fund will finance the purchase of 21 new electric trains to boost service quality, reduce delays and encourage more people to use a sustainable transport type. To conclude, these projects also represent not only a massive investment to boost the economy, but also to protect the environment and improve citizens' quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Viviane. With that, we are finished with our announcements. Priority, obviously, to journalists who are in the room. Lily, we'll start with you.
Thank you very much. I have a few questions regarding the President's announcement yesterday on her proposal for a travel ban. The first is, can you confirm that this is not an EU travel ban, but a separate travel ban that would be adopted by each individual member state? The second thing is, would there be any restrictions on goods, whether directly or indirectly? And will you be telling member states to stop all air travel from outside the EU, or just preventing non-EU citizens from boarding planes? And finally, could you explain your communication toward member states, like, for example, the Czech Republic or Hungary, that have banned all non-citizens from coming in? Will you be asking them to relax their bans to just make it all non-EU citizens? Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Thanks a lot for all these questions, Lily. So maybe first of all, just a point on vocabulary. I would not call the measure that we invited the European Council and the heads of state of the Schengen countries a travel ban. We are referring to it as a temporary restriction on travel. Now, your question about the status of this measure, whether this would be an EU measure or a set of national measures, from a legal perspective, indeed we are talking about a coordinated set of national decisions. And this is why the form in which we have made this recommendation to the member states is a communication where we are inviting the heads of states to take this measure. The communication that we adopted does not refer to goods, neither does it refer specifically to air travel. And we will be, the European Council will discuss this, or the video conference of the European Council is expected to discuss this later today, and then it will be up to the heads of state and government to discuss how exactly they take this forward. And that also applies to any specifics of how this measure will be implemented if and when it is approved by the member states.
Follow up?
Thanks so much. That clarifies a lot. Just on the question of member states that have imposed very strict restrictions, again, I'm thinking about the Czech Republic, but not only them. Quite a few countries have essentially made it very difficult for non-citizen EU citizens to come in. Will you be asking them to relax that and to match what the president is proposing, which would just apply to third country citizens? Thank you.
So these are maybe two separate issues. With regards to the measures adopted by member states at the internal borders, we adopted yesterday a set of guidelines relating to health checks, to all border management measures to protect health and also ensure the availability of goods and essential services. And in those guidelines, we are also saying that member states must always admit their own citizens and residents and facilitate the transit of other EU citizens and residents that are returning home. So we have taken a pretty clear stance of what we think should be done by the member states, and we are in discussion with the member states in order to help bring about a more coordinated approach on the EU level on this.
Final follow-up, Lily. There are many, many questions.
Just a final follow-up. So on the guidelines adopted yesterday, since you're just encouraging member states to allow other EU citizens to transit, does that pose a threat to the four freedoms as we know them now, and freedom of mobility?
Well, we are finding ourselves in an exceptional situation, and it is pretty obvious that the measures that we are taking are restrictive measures that apply to the very specific sanitary situation that we are facing. So in this sense, we are talking about restrictions to some of the freedoms that you're referring to. Yes, please.
Oui, c'est un follow-up, plus ou moins. Je ne comprends pas très bien pourquoi vous avez choisi cette voie, disons, légale ou politique plutôt, au lieu de prendre la voie par Schengen. Comment vous adressez, si un pays, par exemple, refuse de suivre, vous avez après le fameux, disons, vous avez différentes situations selon les États membres, parce que vous avez besoin de l'accord de tous les États membres là dans cette situation. Et comment vous gérez, par exemple, des pays tiers qui sont dans Schengen mais pas dans l'UE, par exemple, comme la Suisse? Est-ce que la Suisse est consultée sur cette affaire, sur ce sujet? Merci.
Oui, donc. Peut-être très concrètement sur la question des pays associés Schengen, donc les États qui ne sont pas membres de l'Union européenne et qui sont membres de l'espace Schengen, ils sont pleinement associés à cette invitation que nous avons adressée aux chefs d'État et de gouvernement à la fois des États membres de l'Union européenne et de ces pays tiers. Par rapport à pourquoi nous avons choisi cette voie particulière plutôt que d'autres voies possibles, Je pense que c'est tout simplement parce que nous avons besoin d'une décision très rapide et une décision coordonnée prise au niveau national semblerait être le moyen le plus efficace dans l'immédiat de prendre ce genre de décision.
Ok, y a-t-il encore des questions sur les frontières? Je regarde dans la liste que j'ai reçue ici. Je ne vois pas de questions particulières sur les frontières. Donc on va passer à autre chose. Catherine.
Catherine Fiore, EU reporter. My question is on a commitment that President von der Leyen made when she was addressing the Parliament when she wanted to become President of the European Commission. She very strongly supported a European unemployment benefit reinsurance scheme. And she said that though there were national unemployment insurance schemes, a reinsurance scheme for heavy external shocks is needed in Europe. So I'm just wondering, where are we on that? Has progress been made? Do we need to bring forward the work on a reinsurance scheme to help EU countries deal with what is a very severe economic shock?
Thank you. Indeed, the Commission and the President stand by their commitment. And definitely work is ongoing on this proposal. But as you know, in terms of the response, the economic response to the current crisis, we are working first and foremost based on the existing tools in view of the rapidity that is required in the answer. This is where we stand at the moment. Catherine.
I appreciate that, but are you looking, I mean, what is the current timetable for this proposal? And is any consideration being given to bringing that time forward a bit? Because we're in the middle of this crisis and it really can't be hanging around.
I think that I don't have the exact timing in my mind. We will need to come back to you on that. But such a proposal would, in any case, require significant amounts of not only design work, but then consultation, decision, etc. So I think it's extremely important to remember that what we are doing for the moment from an economic point of view is ensuring that member states, based on existing legislation, can provide all of the support to the economy that is needed. And Marta can provide us with more information on that. Okay, we did have another question on travel, which I had not seen. If you can read it out. Or I will read it out and you answer.
Perfect.
That way I do something. So, we have a question from Christoph Schmidt from Trouw, Netherlands. When will the travel restrictions, as announced yesterday by the President, take effect exactly? And what happens if one or more countries do not enforce these restrictions or fail to enforce them completely?
Yeah, these are indeed recurrent questions that I've been getting over the last 24 hours or so. Regarding when they will take effect, as I referred previously to these discussions between the heads of state and government, which are expected to start today at 5 o'clock. So this will be a decision for them to take. And as regards what happens if there is lack of compliance on these things. As you know, we don't often talk about possible hypothetical scenarios from this podium, but from a legal perspective, this would be national decisions that would be taken, and therefore they would need to be enforced by the member states under the national law.
All right. I have another question related to the measures announced, or the proposal made yesterday. Will it be from Mads Anneberg from Radio 4 Denmark? Will it be possible for third country nationals to seek asylum upon entry into the EU under the proposed 30 days of external border measures? And will asylum seekers be let in or turned away?
So in the recommendation that we made to heads of state and government, we are referring to this issue very specifically by saying that we recommend that the temporary restrictions do not apply to persons who are in need of international protection or for other humanitarian reasons. And more generally, in any case, measures that member states take to contain and limit the spread of the virus should be based on risk assessment and scientific advice, and they must remain proportionate, and any restrictions must be balanced against the principle of non-refoulement and obligations under international law.
Wow. Still on this or on a different dimension? Still on borders? Yes, please. Go ahead.
Merci Maria Audrescu, La Libre Belgique. En fait, c'est sur la question des demandeurs d'asile. Je ne sais pas si la question a déjà été posée, mais je voulais savoir où vous en étiez en termes de mesures prises à l'égard des camps en Grèce. Je sais qu'on parle de 1300 personnes qui doivent partager un robinet, d'environ 20 000 personnes entassées dans un camp prévu pour 3000. Donc, est-ce qu'il y a des mesures spécifiques qui sont prises à ce sujet? Merci.
Maria, je propose que nous revenions sur cette question après. Ce n'est pas vraiment lié à la gestion des frontières. Donc je pense qu'il y avait encore des questions sur ce sujet. Oui.
Oui, bonjour, Alberto Fernandez de la télévision espagnole La Sexta. J'ai deux questions pour vous. Hier, vous avez énuméré les 7 pays en plus de la Suisse qui avaient déjà communiqué la fermeture de frontières entre pays européens. Est-ce que vous pouvez nous actualiser cette liste-là, par exemple avec la France et l'Espagne, s'ils l'ont déjà communiqué? Et d'autre part, pour revenir sur ce que vous avez déjà répété ces jours d'avant, est-ce que vous continuez à ne pas encourager cette mesure prise par les États membres? Merci.
Sur la deuxième question, je crois que nous sommes dans une situation donnée. Nous travaillons sur base de l'existant et nous essayons de le gérer. La présidente a été très claire sur le fait qu'il était essentiel, dans un contexte où les États membres ont pris des mesures à l'intérieur de leur territoire et aux frontières de leur territoire, en tout cas certains d'entre eux, d'assurer que nous puissions continuer à faire parvenir les biens et les personnels nécessaires au fonctionnement des services de santé et aux besoins des patients. Par ailleurs, qu'il fallait que nous travaillions à la bonne distribution de tout ce qui est nécessaire, d'une part à la production notamment des équipements médicaux nécessaires, d'autre part à l'approvisionnement de nos magasins, afin que la vie normale, une vie la plus normale possible, puisse continuer. C'est là-dessus que nous sommes concentrés sur le moment. Bien entendu, nous espérons que nous allons pouvoir revenir à une situation normale le plus vite possible et rétablir une situation de fluidité aux frontières intérieures de l'Union européenne le plus rapidement possible. Mais l'objectif à l'heure actuelle, c'est de faire face à la situation telle qu'elle est et de continuer le dialogue avec les États membres. Et à ce titre, il y a des contacts, ça répond à certaines des questions qui me sont posées de manière virtuelle. Il y a des contacts très réguliers, permanents, entre la Commission et les autorités des États membres, afin de s'assurer que le trafic des personnes qui ont besoin de rentrer chez elles et qui sont à l'heure actuelle dans un autre État membre, par exemple, puisse avoir lieu, de débloquer les camions qui sont bloqués à l'intérieur de l'Union européenne à certaines frontières. Nous sommes en train de travailler au quotidien avec les États membres de manière bilatérale, sur base maintenant des recommandations que nous avons faites, des orientations que nous avons publiées, afin de faire que cette circulation puisse avoir lieu dans les meilleures conditions. sur la première question, je te laisse revenir.
Oui, sur la liste des États membres qui nous ont notifié la réintroduction de contrôle aux frontières internes, nous en avions 7 plus 1 hier, nous en sommes à 8 plus 2 aujourd'hui. Donc l'État membre supplémentaire par rapport à hier est l'Estonie. Et nous avons aussi une notification de la part de la Norvège.
OK, follow-up.
Je ne sais pas si c'est vraiment une question, mais ça m'étonne un peu, étant donné les annonces qu'ont faites tant l'Espagne comme la France hier. Donc, j'imagine que vous attendez une communication dans les prochaines heures. Et pour revenir sur votre réponse, Eric, que je comprends parfaitement, mais c'est vrai que ces questions a été posées tous ces derniers jours, et encore hier, vous disiez que fermer les frontières internes n'était pas nécessairement la meilleure forme de prévention. Donc, comme il y a beaucoup de pays, de plus en plus, qui prennent des actions contre ce critère, je me demandais si vous continuez tout simplement à le maintenir. Merci.
L'analyse de la situation reste la même. Mais le principe de réalité s'impose et nous travaillons sur base de la réalité telle qu'elle est. Et comme nous l'avons dit, dans le contexte qui s'est développé, les États membres ont été amenés à prendre un certain nombre de décisions. Plutôt que de commenter sur le bien fondé des décisions qui ont été prises par les uns et les autres, nous pensons qu'il est plus utile à l'heure actuelle de se concentrer sur la gestion de la situation telle qu'elle est et sur son amélioration. Et je pense que sur cette question, pour l'instant, je n'ai rien d'autre à ajouter. I would like to, because we have many questions that come from outside, so I would like now to move on. I don't know, Stefan is in the room, yes, to some of the questions that we have on, indeed, a related issue, which is the green lanes. Merci beaucoup. Stefan, from Danek Viktor from Czech Radio. I would like to ask a question on the so-called green lanes on borders. In countries like Czechia, we now see long lines at border crossings due to partial closure of the border. Is or will the European Commission be in talks with governments that have or are reintroducing border checks to indeed secure the so-called green lanes for goods delivery? And has the Commission received so far any assurances that there is going to be indeed a change in the new border regime inside of Schengen zone to secure faster crossing of goods on the internal market? That's perhaps not for you, but the first question is for you.
Thank you. Good morning. Bonjour. Well, Commissioner Vălean has had calls with the transport ministers, and she continues to have calls with the transport ministers from the member states on this particular issue relating to the green lanes and on other, obviously, transport-related issues. She remains in close contact with them. We believe that the situation seems to go better in some areas. Now, what is very important here, I think, is that tomorrow we're going to have a transport council and a video conference between the ministers of transport and in the presence of Commissioner Vălean, where she will exactly discuss the practicalities linked to the green lanes and any other possible concrete measures to remove obstacles to delivery chains and mobility. It is in this context very important for us that the implementation of these green lanes are achieved without obviously compromising the health of drivers and citizens. So this topic of green lanes will be an important topic to be discussed tomorrow at the meeting with the transport ministers.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, we have some questions on, unfortunately I see that Balázs is not managing to connect. We have had some questions on civil protection mechanism. Sorry? Okay, we have some questions. Stefan is going to try to answer. If we're not able to answer now, we will come back to you. One is from Marco Bressolin from La Stampa. The Italian government has announced that 2 medical teams are arriving from China. Is there any similar move inside the EU? And more in general, is there any EU planned scheme for the mobility of doctors between member states?
In this context, maybe I could refer to the work or the potential work of the European Medical Corps. Via the EU Civil Protection Mechanism, we can in principle facilitate the deployment of this emergency medical corps, which consists of medical staff such as doctors and nurses. Currently, 1 emergency medical team, 3 advanced medical posts and 2 mobile laboratories could be considered suitable for deployment in relation to the COVID-19 outbreak. It's important to stress that these are not commissioned staff or Brussels-based, but medical staff from the member states, as is the case with a civil protection mechanism. The medical corps can only be activated upon request by an affected country. We have at this stage no indication one will be made. Given the difficult situation across Europe for all member states, any availability of personnel to be deployed through this medical corps would depend on national capacities.
Okay, Stéphane, since you're here, we have some questions on the health dimension of this. Je repasse au français. Une question qui finalement est à peu près la même de Frédéric Roard de l'Écho et de Alain Franco de RTS. Entre immunité collective et confinement de la population, la Commission a-t-elle un avis sur la meilleure stratégie à adopter? Et Alain, c'est la décision néerlandaise de laisser filer l'épidémie pour jouer la carte de l'immunité de groupe est en contradiction avec la volonté de coordination de l'endiguement de l'épidémie. Quelle est la réponse de la Commission?
Je pense qu'en ce qui concerne ce genre de questions médicales, ce qui est important, c'est que nous suivons le plus possible, pas le plus possible, que nous suivons les conseils du monde scientifique et surtout les recommandations, les avis, entre autres, du ECDC, le European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control. Donc nous référons certainement à ces spécialistes.
Je peux compléter cette réponse pour dire que nous allons sortir, je crois, cet après-midi, un communiqué de presse avec la liste des experts scientifiques que la présidente de la Commission avait annoncé vouloir rassembler pour pouvoir analyser grâce à leur expertise, la situation et son évolution. Et ces experts pourront être amenés à nous faire rapidement un certain nombre de recommandations ou leur avis sur les orientations à prendre. Et cette question pourra faire l'objet de leur part de commentaires. Donc nous aurons peut-être l'occasion de revenir sur cette question. Voilà, c'est cela. Alors ensuite, nous avons des questions sur les ventilateurs. Did you detect a shortage of medical ventilators in any member states? Asked Natalia Segura Raventos from Spain. And an increase in demand in this sector? If so, could you provide some data? And I see that there are quite some questions on this issue, including from David Carreta, if I can find it again, related to the request from Spain via the EU Civil Protection Mechanism, etc. What can we say on that?
Yes, on this I could maybe refer to some elements that I've already given yesterday and update a little bit. You know that exactly to help the member states to deal or to have sufficient medical supplies such as personal protective equipment, but also such as respirators, some joint procurements have been launched, are in the making. You know that an ongoing procurement procedure has been launched some time ago, and this one will be extended, normally to be launched today, to also include eye and respiratory protection. Secondly, with regard to ventilators, as referred to in the question, also President von der Leyen had announced indeed that a new joint procurement procedure would be launched to indeed procure such items. This will also be launched today with a very big majority of member states interested in participating in this process, which means that obviously there is a need to support member states with such supplies.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we also have some questions on the on competition. This is from Jorge Valero, so we'll change theme now. Thanks. Ariana, can you hear us? Can you switch on your mic?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, let's try this. There is a question, if I can find it again, from Jorge Valero. The temporary scheme facilitates 4 operations with public intervention. Could the scheme include additional ones? What would it be for? What would be the procedure to add them?
I am not sure I fully understand the question. I'm sorry. The temporary scheme, meaning the temporary framework?
Yeah, I guess we're talking about the temporary framework for state aid that is currently being designed and discussed.
Yes, so indeed. Last night the Commission has sent to Member States for consultation a draft proposal for a state aid temporary framework to support the economy in the context of COVID-19, which is based on Article 107(3)(b of the treaty to remedy serious disturbance to the economy. The temporary framework will enable member states to set up a number of measures, including schemes such as direct grants or tax advantages up to 500,000 euros to a company. It will allow member states to give subsidized state guarantees on bank loans, also to enable public and private loans with subsidized interest rates. And finally, also specifically for the banking sector, they will be able to channel aid to final customers through the banks. On the precise content of the temporary framework, since the consultation with member states is ongoing, we will have to wait. Indeed, as said in the statement by the Executive Vice President Vestager, we expect to be able to adopt the framework in the next days. Therefore, we will soon have more details on it.
All right. Any question on this from inside the room? Because I don't see any other one from my tablet. No, thank you very much, Ariana. Test is successful. I have questions related to the legislative agenda of the European Union. For example, from Jean Comte, from Context. Dans de nombreux États, l'activité législative est bloquée ou fortement ralentie à cause de l'épidémie. Plusieurs directives doivent néanmoins être transposées cette année ou la prochaine. Comptez-vous accorder des délais supplémentaires de transposition? Et de Virginie Malingre du Monde, Prague demande que le Green Deal soit mis entre parenthèses le temps de la crise du Covid. D'autres États membres ont-ils exprimé ce point de vue? Que répondez-vous? Tim and Vivian, you're around on the Green Deal. Do you have any comment on that? Vivian. On this? Oh, yeah. We'll get there.
Thank you. Well, obviously, we are all following what is happening here hour by hour and day by day, but at the same time, the long-term work on the Green Deal continues in parallel, and this does continue to be the one of the priorities as well. We have preparations ongoing for the next initiatives, and this work is continuing underway through our colleagues equally who are in teleworking.
Right. On the question from Jean about the legislative activity being blocked or being strongly slowed down because of the spread of the coronavirus, it's a question that for the moment is a bit on the side, I would say, because we are focused entirely on managing the consequences of the crisis. Clearly, for legislative activity to work, we need to have the institutions able to operate. I think that all institutions are doing what they can in order for this to take place. They will definitely have to prioritize as well their work in order to cater for the current needs. At this point in time, we do not have any comment to make on any knock-on effect that this could have on legislative work in general. Suzanne, do you have anything to add on this? No. Okay. Catherine.
I just kind of a follow-up, a more immediate deadline that is approaching is the deadline for the UK to apply for an extension to the transition period in July. So do you think the UK should invoke the 2-year transition extension allowed in the withdrawal agreement to reassure British and indeed European EU business interests in these turbulent times? And if you are not really willing to say propose what the UK should do, I'm just wondering if the EU believes that it has the capacity for the ongoing rounds of negotiations given the circumstances that we're in. And do you think that negotiations can be carried on through video conferencing and phone calls? Thank you.
You guessed correctly that we're definitely not going to comment on what the UK should do in terms of asking or not for an extension. This is indeed something that I refer you to vis-à-vis the UK authorities. On the question of whether we have the capacities to carry out these negotiations and whether doing them by video conferencing is feasible and desirable in a way, well, we definitely will do our best in order to ensure that we have the capacity to do so. Obviously, we are in a very dynamic environment. And therefore, what applies today needs to be assessed in terms of how it can continue to apply tomorrow. As to video conferencing, if we can do a midday press briefing virtually, I'm sure that we can also look into the possibility of that for negotiation rounds. But it's definitely not up to me to say, but to the negotiators on both sides. All right. With that, I think we have taken many of the questions, even though not all, that have come to us through the email address that we have given you. Now, we will try to answer those that we have not been able to address today in the course of the afternoon or tomorrow. Now, if you allow me, I would like to do something a bit unusual, but which I think is not necessary, but perhaps helpful in this context. We are here in this closed room. There are now very few people here, but I don't know if, like me, you noticed that outside the sun was shining this morning in the park. Many people are confined in their homes, and therefore I wanted to read out a little poem for all of us to remind us that nature continues and that spring is about to come and that we will see spring. And of course, I looked for a poem that describes this. It had to be short, and it is one from Victor Hugo. I'm French. I'll start with a French poem today. We'll see how it goes later. And the poem is called, very simply, Printemps. Voici donc les longs jours, lumière, amour, délire. Voici le printemps, mars, avril, au doux sourire. Mai fleuri, juin brûlant, tous les beaux mois amis. Les peupliers, au bord des fleuves endormis, se courbent mollement comme de grands palmes. L'oiseau palpite au fond des bois tièdes et calmes. Il semble que tout rit et que les arbres verts sont joyeux d'être ensemble et se disent des vers. Le jour naît, couronné d'une aube fraîche et tendre. Le soir est plein d'amour. La nuit, on croit entendre à travers l'ombre immense et sous le ciel béni, quelque chose d'heureux chanté dans l'infini. Victor Hugo, Printemps. Et je souhaite que tous ceux d'entre nous qui sont confinés chez nous puissent se référer à ce poème pour avoir un petit peu de réconfort dans ces moments difficiles. Par ailleurs, c'est aujourd'hui la Saint-Patrick en Irlande et j'ai une attention particulière pour mon collègue Dan et tous les collègues irlandais de la Commission. Nous vous souhaitons, malgré les circonstances actuelles, a very happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you very much. We will be meeting in this room again tomorrow, whatever happens. Thank you.